Joseph Roy Metheny. On December 19, 1996, Joe Metheny, 41, who authorities say preyed on women with drug or alcohol problems, was charged with killing 3 women. Metheny was first arrested for the slaying of a 26-year-old woman whom authorities said he met at the Borderline Bar and Restaurant in Arbutus, a Baltimore suburb. The decomposed body of the woman, Kimberly Spicer, was found under a trailer less than 10 feet from Metheny's own at the Joseph Stein and Son Pallet Company. Metheny was also charged in the killing of Toni Ingracia, a 28-year-old woman whose body was found in 1994 near Interstate 95, a short distance from the company. She had been stabbed and strangled. The third charge concerns a decapitated body of an unidentified woman. Police are also looking for the remains of a 4th victim, a man, after Metheny allegedly confessed killing him. Metheny, who is being held without bail, was acquitted in July in the axe slayings of 2 homeless men in August 1995. A circuit court jury concluded there was insufficient evidence to convict Metheny of killing the 2 men in a makeshift village called Tent City in South Baltimore. Joe Roy Metheny reportedly has confessed to killing 10 women in the Baltimore area and has been indicted in the early 1990s murders of Kimberly Spicer, Toni Lynn Ingracia, and Catherine Magaziner. Apparently, after spending time with his victims on what appeared to be casual, normal terms, Metheny felt compelled to strangle the women. He is currently serving life in prison after having his death penalty sentence in the murder of Magaziner was overturned on July 24th. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for future interesting videos. The Maryland Court of Appeals overturned yesterday the death sentence of Joseph R. Metheny, a Baltimore man who admitted killing a prostitute and begged the jury at sentencing to let him die. The court found insufficient evidence that Metheny had robbed the woman, an aggravating circumstance that allowed prosecutors to seek the death penalty. Metheny confessed to killing Kathy Ann Magaziner in 1994 near the Southwest Baltimore Pallet Company where he worked. When he was sentenced by a Baltimore County jury 4 years later, Metheny's lawyers said that although the defendant buried Magaziner's clothing and a purse in a different place than her body, his removal of the items was not part of the crime. In yesterday's decision, the appeals court agreed. Noting the lack of evidence of robbery, the court sent the case back to Circuit Judge James T. Smith, Jr. The court's action could lead to a life sentence without parole for Metheny. The appeals court also noted Smith's personal reservations about the sentence, which he expressed in a report to the state's highest court after the jury sentenced Metheny to death. Metheny was charged with robbery, the judge noted, only because the body and the clothing were found in different locations. Another person who had killed their victim, but buried the victim in her clothes would not qualify for the death penalty, Smith wrote. At the time of sentencing, Metheny was serving life without parole for the murder of Kimberly Spicer in 1996 and 50 years for an attempted sex offense and the kidnapping of Rita Kemper, also in 1996. The case was moved from Baltimore, where Metheny killed Magaziner, to the county, where he pleaded guilty to murder and robbery. Metheny used graphic language in begging the jury for the death penalty, and at one point said, "The words 'I'm sorry' will never come out, for they would be a lie. I am more than willing to give up my life for what I have done, to have God judge me and send me to hell for eternity." He later said he killed because "I just enjoyed it." The jury deliberated for slightly more than 2 hours before sentencing him. Metheny's lawyer, Margaret Mead, said yesterday that the appeals court made the right decision by acknowledging insufficient evidence of a robbery because the purse and clothing were simply left after Metheny killed Magaziner. She also said Metheny pleaded guilty to the robbery charge against the advice of his lawyers. Mead said she had not spoken to Metheny but suspected he would be happy, even though he told the jury he wanted to die. After being charged with stabbing or strangling 3 women and sexually mutilating some of their bodies, Metheny confessed to a 4th killing. To start out, I will tell you about myself at the present moment, which is locked up. I am 48 years old, I weigh about 450 pounds, and it's not all fat. I've been locked up for almost 8 years now, but when one has been sentenced to a couple of life without parole sentences, time doesn't matter anymore. I have no problem with being locked up, for no one put me here but myself. And I deserve to be right where I'm at, because I had 12 law-abiding jurors that told me so in a couple different cases. I was only convicted of 2 murders and 1 kidnapping for the one that got away. I got 50 years for her. The first murder I was sentenced to life without parole. The second one they gave me the death penalty. I sat on Maryland's death row for 3 years, and then they overturned my sentence and gave me another life without parole and sent me down here for the rest of my life. I killed 7 people. 2 men I chopped up with an axe under a bridge in South Baltimore. I was found not guilty for them cause they couldn't prove I did it. Under that same bridge, I also killed 2 women and 1 man who was fishing, who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I weighed their bodies down and put them in that river. I showed the police where I put them about 3 years later, but they couldn't find them, so they could not charge me for them. My murder rampage started out as revenge, but ended up as a passion for the taste of blood and the overwhelming sense of power one gets for taking the life of another. It all started back in July of 1994. I was at work. I was a truck driver. I was working overtime this one night. Then I got off and went home as I always did. But when I opened the door and turned on the light, I noticed there was nothing there. My old lady had taken everything, including my son, and left me. Her leaving was not my problem, but she took my 6-year-old son with her. She was a crack addict and a worthless piece of shit. I would have paid her to get out of my life. All she had to do was take my son over to my mother's house, and she could have had everything else and be gone. I found out about 6 months later she had moved on the other side of town with some asshole that had her out selling her ass for drugs. They got busted for drugs, and they took my son away from them for child neglect and child abuse. I had no chance of going to social services and trying to get my son back due to my past criminal record. So I took it upon myself, with the hatred I had for these 2 who lost my son, to go looking for them. I had found out from someone that they was going under that bridge and getting high with some homeless motherfuckers who lived under that bridge. I went under there looking for them. They were not there. But the 2 homeless motherfuckers they got high with them were down there. They were passed out on some old stinking mattress, and that's where they were when I left, except they were dead from being chopped up. That same night I lured the first crack whore down under that bridge. I got her high and was trying to get information out of her about my old lady's whereabouts. She acted like she didn't know, so I beat the hell out of her and raped her ass, then killed her. I put her in some bushes and went and lured the second bitch down there. I did the same to her as the last one, but as I was about to throw her in the bushes with the other one, I noticed an old black man down by the river fishing, looking back up at me. I grabbed a steel pipe that was lying by and ran down on him and laid his head wide open. So I put the 2 girls and him in the river and weighed them down with rocks. That was a very busy night for me, 5 murders within about 7 hours. I washed up in that river and cleaned up the crime scene as much as I could, then left. 2.5 weeks later, I was arrested and charged with the murders of the 2 men I chopped up. If you enjoyed from this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more content. Thanks for watching.